Hey, buddy.
Hey, boy, we've seen a lot of that hockey this season already. Hey,
I
that
never
looks
thought
familiar.
the
Those last
Americans
two
sitting
periods
back,
looked
eh?
awfully familiar. he can kill anybody's offensive talent.
Wow, the Americans definitely were shutting things down. Once they took the
Oh
lead,
yeah,
they were not taking any chances.
I'm just being a bit of a turkey. I got to take my shots at talk when I
Yeah,
can.
I know. I appreciate it. Take the shots when you can. Because once they start
Yep.
winning all the time when we get back from this thing, then you won't be able to
Hey,
take
you
shots
miss
at me.
100% of the shots you don't take,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Well, in Canada's case, they miss a lot of the shots they took. 25 shots on net, only one goal. What is that from a team with that much offensive talent? How do they only get one goal in a game, Dustin?
They couldn't get anything to the middle. The States did an incredible job at choking off the main shooting areas. Not really any high quality chances for Canada coming out of the slot. Um, the dump and chase really wasn't working because America's a lot bigger than Canada, so we couldn't physically win the battles today. The Canadian team built more on speed and skill. The American team a little more big and tough, but also brings enough speed equally as well. So, you know, we touched a little bit on international play, and I had talked about how the US is going to be a difficult team to beat going forward in international play. I mean, you see it. They're a powerhouse defensively and in net. I mean, Hellebuck gave nothing, really. He didn't give up the bottom of the net at all. No real big rebounds. Everything was controlled. He kept the puck in front of him and tight, and the defense were right there to clean up the garbage. So nothing really being generated for Canada. They couldn't really get him moving side to side. You can't blame it on McCarr not being in the lineup because there is a plenty of firepower on this team. There's no excuses other than, you know, Hellebuck made one more save than Binnington did. Well, and that's all it comes down to. And then the States bury an empty netter to seal the deal. But um, a god awful change on that second goal,
Mm-hmm.
which leads to a 2-on-1, and
Well,
then
I
just
mean, talking about
another.
that god awful change, man. It's not a play you see very often, but Sidney Crosby with like a JT Miller like pass in the American zone. The
Mhm.
defense were not ready for that pass to go across and go to nowhere. And that's one of the first times you see Sidney Crosby actually look like a human out there, ending up causing that breakaway the other way. And that's where, but I mean, even the shot after, right? Like you talk about Sidney Crosby being a god, Captain Canada, but unfortunately, then suddenly he makes that play, and then Bennington doesn't make the save, right?
No, and the blocker side on Binnington got beat twice tonight, and that was another one that he probably should have saved. Defenseman did a good job of taking away the passing lane and only giving up the shot, which is what you always want to do for your goalie. And that's where, I had said, hopefully he doesn't give up another softie because that could be the difference in the game. And lo and behold, that's what happened. And I had mentioned that Canada's goaltending isn't the strongest part of our national players pool right now. So we need to be able to outscore our problems. But to do that, you got to get to the middle and you got to get the goalie moving side to side, which we failed to do tonight. And we failed to take advantage of them losing, a big player like Matthew Tkachuk. In third period, he wasn't playing. He took himself out of the game, basically, saying he couldn't go. So you can't be super upset about it. It was a great hockey game.
Mm.
Tight game, back and forth. Like probably the best start to a hockey game I've ever seen in my life. To get everyone going and the emotions into it. The first period was great. Second period, everyone kind of settled in. It was very even, back and forth. And the difference was that one shot on that beat Binnington. And then the third period, Canada pressed and just couldn't get the quality chances from where they needed to be. They couldn't get them from up in the slot, just outside the hash marks, stuff like that. There was really just nothing.
I got a good comment in chat from Chris Willis. The first American goal was weak, and it becomes very tough to play in front of a nervy goalie. And says an elimination game. That's not an elimination game, but your point is still good because obviously a goal like that to start off. Do you think that affected the Canadian team when that first goal went in to make them play a little bit more reserved?
Well, definitely, especially when you get out to the lead and you have like the goal that McDavid scored is like highlight reel goal. You really need Binnington to make that save, and we talked about that in the first intermission. And I mean, you could consider every one of these games an elimination game because it's such a short tournament. Canada needed these points. They got to win in regulation, I think, now against Finland to even have a chance. But they should be able to handle that, hopefully. Yeah,
Can you just
it is
quickly knock
hard to
on wood
play
for
in
me
front of it.
quickly there?
Knock on wood, yeah. um, it is tough to play in front of a nervy goalie, and the players aren't completely unaware that Binnington can be streaky and can let in the soft goal here or there. Especially because the media is very vocal about his ability to do so. But at the same time, these guys are they're the best of the best that we have. They should be able to kind of put that out of their mind and move forward. Um, just couldn't get one by Hellebuck. I mean, Hellebuck's been having an incredible season outside of this tournament, so it's not at all surprising that he did what he did tonight. And I mean, he's had this type of game with the Winnipeg Jets in front of him, so you put the best that the US has to offer in front of him, and he's going to be tough to beat. Any US goaltender right now, they have the upper hand in net for sure going forward in international play. So we're going to have to work hard and figure out a way to minimize mistakes.
Kind of interesting. The other thing I noticed about Hellebuck was, he almost gave his team that Brodeur advantage. And then when I say Brodeur advantage, it's that ability to play the puck because there was a lot of times Canada's dumping it in, looking for that puck to ring around the boards. Hellebuck was out a lot of the time, stuffing that puck behind the net, just completely stopping that forecheck that would have happened as a result of the puck getting dumped in. And I don't know if you saw Binnington able to do that as effectively tonight. So as the third defenseman that Brodeur was, I don't think you were seeing Binnington able to do that as well as Hellebuck was tonight.
For sure. And as Canucks fans, we saw a lot of that in the years of Marty Turco in Dallas. I mean, anytime you tried to dump the puck in, it was like, nope, your whole dump and chase is done. He shuts it down, his turnaround going the other way. So we've seen our fair share of goalies have the ability to do that. We've suffered with our fair share of goalies that have the inability to play the puck. So we've seen both of those worlds, but it is a huge advantage, like you say, to have basically a third defender back there digging the puck out of the corners or out from behind the net. And then it can make a pass and get it up to the defenders. Then they don't have to come back into the zone as far, and just your breakout play is instantly that much better when everyone can be 10 feet further up the ice starting when the goalie can shoot it up the boards successfully 9 times out of 10.
Connor McDavid, the high minute getter for the Canadians, 22:44 played. So that's even more than the top defenseman, who is Morrissey, who had 22:08 played in the game. And then on the American side, the highest number that you saw there was, oh, that's weird. 20 minutes by Austin Matthews. And then on defense, they went a little heavier on their defensive structure. And they ended up with their top two guys, Slavin and Faber, both played 25 minutes, almost 26 minutes. So it looks like the Canadians managed to keep their time down across the board. But I mean, I think that says a lot about the Canadian roster when you have McDavid as the highest minutes getter for the red and white.
Yeah, and to me it looked like McDavid I wouldn't say took his foot off the gas, but he changed his aggressiveness driving with the puck up the boards after McAvoy popped him a couple times, which I don't blame him. It's yes, as much as this tournament means something, you have the last 30 games or 27 games of the NHL season staring you in the face on the other end of the tournament. So When you get that little break, go into the intermission and sit down and look back at that first period, it's like, yeah, that was great hockey. My energy's up. It's intense. But there's that little nagging voice at the back of your head that says, I got a job to do when I'm done this tournament. And I can't, I can't end up costing my season with an injury because I'm trying to drive the play and I get a concussion because I'm not focused on I'm trying too hard to make something happen, which when Crosby threw it up into the middle out of nowhere last game, I had mentioned the power play maybe getting into trouble trying to make too perfect of a play, and I think we saw that a bit tonight as US started to clamp down. Canada tried to get more and more fine, looking for that perfect pass, the perfect play, and they just couldn't find it because there were no holes. And they needed to generate more with their feet and with the rush and the breakout, but they just weren't doing that. And so it led to a very suffocating style for the U.S., which they were able to just sit on with the lead. And you can do that comfortably when you have a goalie like Hellebuck in net. So just a tough game all around for both sides. Props to the U.S. They played a great game and did what they needed to do to shut down McDavid and Crosby.
Not an easy task, especially when they suddenly got thrown on a line together out there. 3 stars of the game, Dustin. Who's your 3 stars of the game?
Oh, that's a tough one tonight. I guess you give first star to Jake Gensel because he got 2 goals.
Yep.
And then, probably Hellebuck for holding them in. 25 saves on 26 shots. And then third star, I guess you give to McDavid for getting the 1 goal for Canada and playing as many minutes as he did. How'd I do?
You're close. You got 2 out of 3. You got first star right. It was Jake Getzel. He got the 2 goals. He was first star of the game.
Yeah.
Second star of the game is where he faltered. You had Dylan Larkin taking it with 1 goal and an assist. So Larkin starting things off and then getting an assist on the Jake Getzel goal. It was the empty netter that he ended up getting it on. Which is kind of where I would kind of agree with you. I almost feel like Hellebuck probably deserves it because he did make a couple amazing saves. And then, like we talked about, just that structure of being able to stop the puck. And then Connor McDavid taking the 3rd star with the 1 goal for Canada.
Yeah, I'm not offended by them giving it to Larkin, but I think Hellebuck probably deserved a nod there tonight over Larkin, especially with the assist being on an empty netter, but whatever.
Diehard Red Wings fan says, Larkin is my 1st star because I'm a Red Wings fan. Biased! So you looking at the guys they have available, obviously Makar is going to be probably another game time decision, see if he can get right. But forward wise, you did change. Obviously, Konechny came out of the game against the Finnish team. Do you think they put Konechny back in the lineup, take Bennett back out, or are you messing with the forward lines? Yeah, probably.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think Bennett was pretty much here just for this game, and the finals if we rematch up against the U.S. Konechny's speed will come in super handy against Finland Monday morning. So I would for sure expect to see him back in the lineup. And Makar is dealing with illness, so he was close to playing today. So I would imagine he'll be good to go Monday morning.
Yeah, I believe he took the full morning skate, like full speed and all that this morning. So he must have just been like, after, like, nope.
Yeah. No, I might poop myself out there. I don't want to be leaving brown streaks on the ice. So,
are you surprised at all that there wasn't any more fights after the first couple minutes there?
Not really. Just in a game like this, like I talked about with McDavid backing off a little bit, you kind of get your head level a little, and the knuckles are probably a little sore, and it maybe been a close call in one of those 3 fights, and the coaches probably said, guys, we got to go back to our teams. Like, this is great and all, but it's not the Olympics. It's just, we're here to entertain the fans and play good hockey. And so I imagine they got talked off the ledge a little bit. They were probably told to keep the intensity up and the emotion, the passion, but we probably don't need to be throwing fists here tonight.
Yeah. A little bit of a crazy start. I mean, I think the only one that pops to mind that might be as crazy a start was that game we talked about a couple weeks ago with John Tortorella trying to fight the other coach, where they had the line. It was like one of the last line brawls that I think we've ever seen in the NHL.
Yeah.
So that's probably the only way it comes close to it. But obviously not as big of a stage, just some random regular season game. So three fights right off the bat was absolutely wild.
Yeah.
Are you
got
worried
my motor
about...
running?
Sorry, what was that?
I said it got my motor running.
Yeah, it sure did. Proving this is not an All-Star game. I think we've seen one fight in the All-Star game. John Scott. That year he made the All-Star game when they got voted in by the fans. I think he fought someone. So
a fight.
Yeah, a fight.
Yeah.
Which is like
Yeah. Yeah. I think they danced around because the guy was a giant.
yeah, exactly. Okay, let's take a quick pause from the depressing talk of the Canadian team losing. But I don't know if things are going to get better because we want to talk about the Abbey Canucks. They played the San Diego Gulls on Wednesday night, February the 12th, against, like I said, the San Diego Gulls. After defeating them 3-2 the night before on Tuesday, what can you tell us about the game on Wednesday?
Well, we had updated on Wednesday briefly after the first period. They were tied 1-1. Lekkerimäki getting his 16th of the season. However, after peppering the San Diego goalie, they could not get another goal by him. San Diego added 3 more to take the 2 more and an empty netter to take the 4-1 victory in that game on Wednesday night. Oscar Dansk with a incredible performance in net for the San Diego Gulls, stopping 33 of 34 shots faced. Abbotsford threw everything they had. They just got goalied, plain and simple, in that game there that night. So yeah, not able to generate much offensively. They stayed out of the box. It was just kind of a tough game. They couldn't get it by them. But obviously, Lekkerimäki, the lone scorer there for Abbotsford in that game. But let's switch gears a little bit.
Currently live
so far
in
tonight
Abbotsford.
In Abbotsford against those Colorado Eagles that we just dropped 2-2 on the road in their building. We're getting so far a little bit of redemption. First period with 2 goals by Abbotsford. The first goal, a beautiful breakout pass from Victor Mancini, finding a fresh Jonathan Lekkerimäki off the bench, who then beat the Colorado defender clean 1-on-1 to essentially give himself a breakaway and beat the goaltender for his 17th of the season. The kid came back from his injury and just picked up right where he left off in the AHL. Just proving again, like I've said, he's too good for the AHL, but not quite ready for the NHL. And he's just kind of in that weird zone of if we end up out of the playoffs, he's probably going to come up and finish the season with the Canucks. If we end up in a playoff battle, he might be a fill-in guy for injury stuff. But rest assured, Lekkerimäki will likely be with the Canucks next year or for a good chunk of the end of this year. The second goal was a tipped shot in front by Linus Karlsson off a Christian Wolanin point shot. Just a really nice hand-eye coordination to get that one about it was about chest high, and he got it out of the air, tipped it past the Eagles goalie. And then early in the second period, about 6 minutes in, we have Aatu Räty scoring on the power play. Another nice pass from Christian Wolanin and Linus Karlsson getting the second assist on that one. So Karlsson with a goal and an assist tonight. Wolanin with 2 assists, and Lekkerimäki with the other, and Räty with the other goals. So far, so good tonight. Colorado still with the goose egg. Shilov's playing a very good game. Abbotsford killed off a 5-on-3 for about a minute and a half, 5-on-3 at the end of the first period to hold on to that 2-0 lead, which is now grown into a 3-0 lead. So all signs point to a good game down there in Abbotsford tonight.
That's good. We need some positivity here in the stream tonight. I did want to ask you about Mancini too, and I forgot to do that last game. Because he's been down there for what, 3 or 4 games now. And from
This will be
what
his
I can
third game, yeah.
gather, it's kind of he's kind of a high risk, high reward kind of a defenseman, where I think he has had some defensive gaffes, but also is quite offensively talented. Is that kind of what we're seeing from him so far?
Well, I think the first 2 games he was kind of like thrown into the fire, right? He got thrown onto the top line with DPD. The two of them were playing the top pair defense minutes, so they were going out against the best that Colorado had to offer. When they dropped those ones, the last one, and then against San Diego. Um, so it was a tough go for him in DPD against San Diego, but they managed to get the win in the first game. Started to settle in a little more in the second, but still was turning the puck over a little bit, getting used to where his teammates are. He's really good at cutting off players coming down the boards and using his physicality to keep them to the outside. And then tonight, he looks much more comfortable with the puck, starting to get comfortable with his teammates, kind of learning their voices. You can see that, when people call for the puck, he's a little quicker to make the play. You don't have to turn and look, which can be the difference between making a crisp pass or having a forechecker steal the puck from you. So when you can make those instinct passes, things start to pick up a little bit. And I think we may have really pulled off a diamond in the rough here with Mancini in that trade. Like, he might end up being the steal of that deal.
That's what I'm looking for. A nice steal on the deal. Like a big right hand shot defenseman who's got some offensive upside.
Yeah, and I think we need to start a fans petition that he needs to go by his official name, Vittorio, because that's just badass.
Vittorio.
No more Victor.
Yeah.
I want a Vittorio Mancini on my team,
I
man.
like it.
The mafia boss on the blue line, the big right-handed defender.
Lanky 32 with DP return to Vancouver when the NHL season resumes. Maybe.
I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see what this ownership and management team does.
I honestly don't know, man, because there's only 6 games until the trade deadline on the other end of this.
Yeah.
So everything's going to be happening really fast when the Four Nations ends. All the Besser stuff's got to happen. Like, if they're that far apart on contract talks, he could get moved here in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to come out of this tournament and it's going to be like hit the ground running with the NHL, and we're not really going to know what hit us. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if there's been some trades being doctored while this is on, and they'll be announced like within the first day or two of the league resuming.
I can see that. We're looking ahead to Monday morning. We're doing another breakfast game, 10 a.m. start here, so we'll be live at 9:40. What are you looking for from Canada against Finland? Because obviously Finland pulled off a big emotional win over Sweden today.
They got to get to the middle a little more, which they will have an easier time doing against Finland. They don't have the size that the U.S. has on the back end. But I mean, they're still the best that Finland has to offer. They're still a very, very high caliber team. Like, every one of these teams could win any one of these games. So just need to play tight. I would expect a goaltender change for that one. But who knows? I thought that we might see Aiden Hill tonight. So that's up to John Cooper and company, who they feel comfortable going with. Maybe they just give Binnington the whole tournament. I'm unsure now, but it feels like they'd probably give Hill a game if they're unsure if they're going to be playing in the final. Be nice to get him into a game, because everyone else on the Canadian roster pretty much got to hit the ice.
I guess that's the disadvantage of playing the early game on the Monday as well, because it depends on what Sweden does against the USA as well. So, I mean, best case scenario, Canada wins the game against Finland. Suddenly they have 5 points, which would guarantee them a spot in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
Sweden would have to defeat USA in regulation to get 5 points, But then I think Canada wins the tiebreaker because they defeated them. But I mean, Canada, all they need to do is win that game against Finland, and they're in the finals. So, but it has to be in regulation too, because you could see maybe a letdown game for USA for that night game and see Sweden beat them, maybe. But just the emotional levels of the Americans, who knows?
Crazier things have happened.
Are you going to be there for Monday for the first intermission, brother?
I have to double check my schedule, but I will get back to you as soon as I know. I know we have a few things planned for Family Day.
Yeah.
With Oliver and Katie, so I may not be available for that game, but I will be watching from the shadows if we aren't here with you all beautiful people.
I'll keep chat up to date for you once we find out what's going on.
Perfect.
Question from I think this is Cyril Melgar. Where was McKinnon?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a good question. He was getting shuffled around a lot, but they were heavily pushing that McDavid, Crosby, and point line, trying to get the speed going. McKinnon's strong, but he doesn't have the foot speed to kind of push the Americans back, and that's where we saw Stone come off that line as well and get pushed further down the lineup. They just needed to try and get the U.S. on their heels because the dump and chase wasn't working. With what Russ had talked about, Hellebuck being able to play the puck so well, Canada had to change their strategy and rely more on speed, and so that kind of pushes certain guys down off the top line. But yeah, he missed his buddy Makar. I guess McKinnon and Makar kind of feed off each other. They're kind of a pair. They kind of go together. When one's not there, the other one struggles, and that's kind of been the knock on why Hughes is better than Makar, because he can make other people better. But this game, could you imagine if this game had Makar and Quinn Hughes in it? Holy God.
Yeah. Another version of best on best, right? The two best defensemen in the world playing against each other. But unfortunately, we were robbed of that by sickness and injury. Anything you want to say to chat before I let you go, brother?
Thank you as always for sticking around. Love the questions. Hope we kept you entertained tonight. Sorry Canada didn't take the win, but hopefully they can bring one home against Finland on Monday.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend, brother, and we'll talk to you soon.
You as well.
Nothing is perfect.